Yeah. MD. JPB. It's only right, baby.
Yeah. Why you mad? I got a bad bro. Name hot in these streets, no Tabasco. But I'm so stuck, that's a fact, yo. And if you think I'm frontin', you can run it back, yo. Go on, run it back. You know that I run it. Everything you wanna do, I already done it. And I got your little boo telling me she love me. I got this one down, but damn, it's gonna be a long night.
Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of What Ifs, and I'm back here with a new What If. Today I am doing What If Deku was a Technopath, and as you know, What If Naruto was a speedster is over, so go check out the playlist right here, and finish the series if you haven't had a chance to, and also don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and share with anybody else who might like What Ifs, and also go check out the Discord. Now, with the intro done, let's get right into the video. So we start off with the newborn Izuku as Inko will be looking at him saying he was beautiful before passing out, and Hisashi will be outside the hospital door walking back and forth thinking, come on, come on. A nurse then comes out saying that the birth was successful and that Inko just needed to rest a bit. Hisashi will be happy that everything went well, and in a few days the family will be allowed to go home together. However, this is when things take turns for the worse. Hisashi, feeling enthusiastic about his new family, started to try, harder at his work and soon got a promotion which meant that he had to go overseas for a while. But news would reach Inko that he died on the way. Now this broke Inko, but she had the money Hisashi earned before he died, so she could live off of that for a while and provide for Izuku. Now by the time Izuku was 4 years old, Inko was very tired, but she still found time for him. One day Izuku would be watching TV when it starts glitching. Mom, the TV keeps being weird. Inko then said that she would be there in a minute, but Deku was too impatient as he then walked up to the TV and started tapping it, but the screen only started glitching even more. Work, you stupid piece of junk. His eyes then glowed blue as the TV then went back to normal, and this is when Inko would walk out seeing Deku, who said that he fixed the TV himself. That's good, honey, says Inko. However, this is when her eyes widened as she saw the screen of the TV cracking, and running towards her son, she would try to get him away from the device, only for it to then overheat, and by accident, the TV explodes. Mom, what happened? Inko then stops covering Deku and says that it was nothing, only for Deku to then see that she has a glass shard stuck in her shoulder. You okay? Asked Inko. She then feels the pain as she then sees that she's losing a lot of blood, and Deku was scared as he then picked up the house phone and called for an ambulance. This cut was actually pretty huge and she was losing a lot of blood really fast. Luckily, she got to the hospital in time, and after the doctors took care of this wound, we would see Deku and Inko in front of Dr. Ujiko. Luckily, the shard didn't go in too deep, but it almost pierced her bone. What happened? Deku would then look down in shame as he feels like he messed with the TV, but Inko would say it was just defective technology. Ichigo had nothing else to ask, and so he told her to keep the sling that she had on for about a month and come back later. And instead of driving her car, her and Izuku would just walk home as Izuku would then ask, Mom, is it my fault? I told the TV to work and then it did, but then it's okay. It was just an accident. Mommy's okay, alright? Deku would then start crying, thinking that he almost lost his mother because of his own fault, but Inko would comfort him, holding his hand all the way home. Now when they arrived, Inko would put him to bed, and then she went to do, work on some bills and taxes, while still in pain because she had no choice but to do so. When Deku woke up the next morning, his little alarm of All Might would start ringing, and he gets up yawning as he wanted to stop the alarm, but he was too lazy. However, his eyes then go blue once again, and the alarm shuts down completely. Izuku would be confused as he checked, and he saw that it was still plugged in. This is just like yesterday. Is this my quirk? He then focuses as hard as he could, and his alarm turns back on, and he thought that was kind of cool, so he experiments with it a little bit. And instead of making the clock give numbers, he made it say good morning, Izuku. And after that, he woke up and went to, brush his teeth, and when he entered the bathroom, he focused, turning the lights on, and it actually worked. This is the best quirk ever. Wait till I show Mom. He then brushes his teeth and washes his face, going downstairs to tell his mom what he had done, but she would be asleep on the dining table with tons of paper and emails in front of her. Izuku would then see this and feel a bit mad that his mom had to do all this stuff, and she deserves as much of a relaxed life as everyone or anyone. And he went back to his own room and went to get his computer and tried to test his powers. If Mom needs money, then I'll get it for her. He would then focus on money, end up hacking into the computer and the government itself without knowing, as he then sent a huge amount of money into his mom's bank account. Of course, living with his mom, he had to be a lot more aware of things. So he focused on Inko's bank account because he knew what that was, and he goes to it seeing that she had $1 million now. Izuku would then be happy about this, but little did he know he just did something that he really shouldn't have. The next day, when Izuku would be actually going to school, he goes and meets his classmates, and this is for the first time when he would meet Bakugo. Bakugo Katsuki. Deku was more attached to his mother in this timeline, so he never really hung out with other kids or Bakugo, and Inko had trouble with it, and Inko just walked into school since, she just didn't trust herself to drive yet, and she would think, I really hope he actually talks to the kids. This is when she gets a notification on her phone saying that something weird was going on with her account, and the car then rolls up to her, stopping her as a man puts down his windshield and asks her, Inko Midoriya, yes? You need to come with us, ma'am. It's a state emergency. We then cut back to school as Deku will be in recess hanging out with Bakugo and the other kids. He's making friends, but this is when a teacher comes out saying that someone is here to take him back home. Izuku then follows his teacher and is met by a tall man in a dark suit waiting for him. Izuku Midoriya, by the orders of the presidential palace, you are to come with us right now. The teacher would then ask, Izuku, what did you do? Izuku would then be taken back home as when he gets brought back to his apartment, he sees his mom worried and he runs to her. She then comforts him as he would ask what is going on, and he then heard the voice of an old man as he turned back to see the president of Japan sitting on their couch. Izuku would then get in front of his mom in a protective stance saying, it was my fault, not my mom's. I took all that money and I gave it to her. If you're here for that, then I did it. Just take me, alright? Shinzo, who was, the president of Japan, would then say, good to know, but Izuku Midoriya, you're not in trouble. And of course, I know you did it. What did he do with that money? Asked Inko. He managed to take money from the government bank and put some of it in your account with none of us being able to notice for a while, but even so, it's quite impressive for someone who just started kindergarten, don't you think? What's gonna happen to us now? Inko would ask, and Prison would just say, I wanted to know how you did it, that's all. Deku's eyes then went blue as lightning started to spark out of all the devices in the house, making the Secret Service protect Shinzo, but he said it was fine as he then moved up to the boy. What would you say about working with the government? We'll help you develop your quirk. But he's too young for that, Inko would say. Shinzo would then say, it's all his choice. I'll give him some time, but if we help you develop this ability and see how far you can take it, you could be able to help the people who help people, a hero in your own right. You can keep the money as well, so just think about it. The old man then smiled as Deku's eyes went back to normal, and he left as one of the men gave Inko a black card, and they leave with Deku falling on the ground. He was really nervous, but also ready to do anything for his mom. Inko then has Deku sit down and they talk about his quirk and why he did what he did. And they also both kind of realize this is kind of a trap. Saying keep the money is basically saying if you use it, you owe us. And by extension, we own you. And we can use you however we want. Inko would then say, let's just give back the money. And no, you'll probably go to jail just because of me. Let's just call them. Inko doesn't want to do this, but in the last resort, if they get backstabbed after she, calls them, then she's willing to go to jail in her son's place. So she makes the phone call, and then as she's doing so, Deku's eyes turn blue on its own, and he connects to his computer, receiving info that he shouldn't be able to receive. In his moment of stress and nervousness, he subconsciously activated his powers and now has obtained the knowledge of a master technician. Wow, just what is my quirk? He then concentrated as he pointed at the broken TV, which still needed to be fixed, and it started to float to Deku, who then ripped it apart and took the main components out and made it work by slowly piecing it back together while fixing every main component. He then dropped it down slowly, and for some reason he noticed that he just made the TV way bigger than before. So can I control anything like a phone? Then I have no reason to be scared. Just stuff like phones are everywhere. I'll face whatever heads for me no matter what, and I'll make our lives better. I promise. Now after Inko made the call, Deku will be brought to the presidential palace, and there he would have his quirk tested for a while and still go to school. But he was in a different school. However, using his ability to absorb knowledge from tech, Izuku raised his IQ to over 200, and this allowed him to enter middle school by the time he was around 7. However, the government tried to, they tried their best to keep him a sort of state secret, hence the title. Now, while Izuku would be recognized as a boy genius by everyone in the forefront, in the background, he was also Japan's greatest inventor and technician / engineer, etc. All of that. He's really good at a lot of things that involve technology. He manufactured new devices to deal with villains, such as gauntlets that shrunk down to match her hands. For example, if it's being used by someone like All Might or Death Arms, the impact of their punches would release a pulse that weakened the quirk gene, thus making villains really weak. Deku would then work for the government until he was 14 years old, gaining more than 100 scholarships and 10 PhDs. That's a lot, and that's a big deal. And this made him very rich because he was personally paid by the government. So this allowed him to buy a house for his mother, making his family name quite known. But Deku, being overprotective of his mother, was also a standoffish person to anyone that he barely knew, and he was really rude sometimes, even scaring the president when he got mad. Now, the Midoriya family was known as the richest family in Japan, and they were like royalty. And Deku technologically advanced the mansion that he bought, and it was super safe for Inko, but she really didn't want so much. But Deku was always too worried about her safety to actually hear her out, which developed this weird relationship between them. Deku was super focused on work and improving his powers, and Inko was always trying to make him focus on more better things and better parts of life, which worked sometimes, but then he just went back to being a workaholic. But he was also lazy at the same time, so yeah. Also, Inko was always being watched by Deku when she went out for shopping, to keep her safe because they're a known rich family. Some people have actually tried to go into their mansion and got caught and sent to jail because Deku gives no fucks, and if you mess with Inko, you're dying. He also turned into a massive otaku, as it was the only way for him to calm down, and he made a bunch more weapons. However, they were engraved in his body instead of selling them, allowing him to perform incredible feats, just like Cyborg. Now, he had a chip that, when attached to your face, could make you look like anyone, and it was used for covert missions by the highest ranked heroes and men of Secret Service. Deku also made a business that made things for people with disabilities and gave his tech to hospitals, and this in turn helped a lot of people, like those who were paralyzed, and he made those people able again. The business was called Star Industries, and so we are now going to go to Deku at the Midoriya Mansion, but he was underground in his sublab while his mother was sleeping. We then see Deku in his sublab on his sofa while a flying screen was over him playing some anime. That dude's definitely gonna die by the end of this, definitely. This is when he gets a notification that comes up on the screen, making him groan as he told the floating device to receive the call. Midoriya, can we talk, says Shinzo. Deku would then say, considering who you are, I don't have much of a choice, do I? What's up? The president then said, currently due to your efforts, Japan has never been better and things are very stable, so we were thinking of expanding. What are you, trying to take over the world? Besides, I thought you were supposed to keep my identity secret. Do you still want to keep your identity secret? Shinzo would ask. Deku would be quiet as he then switched the subject, asking the president, or as he refers to him, old man, what he wanted him to do, and Deku would be told that he was to make more core-canceling gauntlets, because, Shinzo has some plans for them. And Deku already guessed what he was going to do, though, and if any time some villain got hold of the devices, he would just turn off the devices instantly because he's a technopath. And if anyone ever messes up, he's got it handled. He then ended the call and went over to one of the storage rooms. He took out one of the pair of the gauntlets, and with his eyes glowing blue, the devices would then be deconstructed and slowly turned into 2 pair of gloves. I'll finish it later. For now, let's just go upstairs. He then walks to an elevator, making it go up with this quirk all the way to the surface, and he then walked to his mother's room and saw her sleeping. He then closes the door as we then see Inko with her eyes open, but she simply did not want to turn around. Deku then walked around the mansion just checking on security, and he also sees the garden and the infrastructure, and they were fine. Alright, great, show me the barrier. A blue giant barrier then covering the mansion would make itself seen as he uses his quirk to see if it was secure, and it was. I guess I got nothing else to do. The UA entrance exams are starting in a few months, right? They did ask me to come over. I'll just go over now. He then puts on a hoodie and leaves the mansion, going to UA, and on his way, he keeps monitoring everything, when all of a sudden he sees something ridiculous. A slime villain comes out of the bank running off with some money. That bank hasn't installed my defensive systems yet. Well, that sucks. He would then be in a crowd of people looking at this happen, and they saw the villain run away with the police chasing him. However, this is when they would hear a loud, deep voice. Mind telling me what's happening here? Deku would then turn around with others turning around, and they see All Might in all his glory as the people then point to where the villain went, but they're also fanboying and fangirling. And Deku then watches him leap into the sky, but he doesn't really care as he heads for UA. He arrives at the front of it, and out would walk Nezu. Nice of you to visit, Midoriya. He then welcomes him in, introducing Deku to the facility and the classrooms, and soon they would arrive at the door of 1A, and Deku says that the door is a bit excessive. I just think it's a nice touch. So, did you know, Nezu, I can't attend your school. You know it's not really a good idea. But I do have something for what you've asked me for that one time. I wrote a VR. Nezu would then get an idea of what he's thinking about building, and they talk about it for a while, and Deku ends up saying that he will participate in the exams, but only to test out what he's making for UA. Nezu then walks Deku to the gates, and right before he leaves, Nezu says, "It's not an order, it's not a mission, Midoriya. It's okay if you want. I'm good. Trust me," says Deku, cut him off. "See you soon." Now putting on his hoodie, Deku then starts walking home, and while he does so, he activates the tech in his body, giving him view of his home, and he sees Inko has gotten up and is using the gym in their house. Now seeing this reassures him as he starts to hear explosions all of a sudden, and he finds a crowd being kept away from a demented villain. This villain will be suffocating a blonde-haired kid that Deku recognizes. His eyes just scan Bakugo. He's not exactly the most tolerable individual. He just stands there, watching Bakugo dying out. No emotion, no empathy, no care. And this is when he hears coughing and turns around to see All Might in his Small Might form. Jesus, man, can't you... Seriously? You know what? Let me just do your job. Now, as I said, I said it before, Deku has the heart of a hero, but he also acts based on facts and statistics, and Bakugo's records show a lot of bad things he's done, because he's a technopath, he can see records with ease. So he thought that leaving someone that toxic as a hero would be bad anyway, so he was gonna let him die. But working for the government also means he has a certain mission to clear out the trash, and he thought Bakugo wasn't really worthy anyway. But letting someone die on the job wouldn't help the symbol of peace, so he had to do something. Activating his cybernetics, Deku's shoes turn into rocket shoes that blast him into the air, and everyone sees him as he then blasts towards the villain. Who is that? Someone stop him, yells Death Arms. However, no one can, as Deku then blasts towards the surprise sludge villain, activating a core-canceling gauntlet. He then goes through the villain, grabbing Bakugo and landing, as Bakugo then looked up at this mysterious stranger's back. I didn't ask for help. Deku didn't answer, not caring about his opinion, as he then thought, I'm not doing this for you, idiot. He then punches the sludge, who starts laughing, saying that won't do anything, but then he starts to get shocked as Deku transformed the gauntlet on his arm into a formless machine that was covering, shocking, and weakening the villain. Quickly, the villain passes out soon, and Deku takes the gauntlet back as he then blasts off, and, from under where he was under some sort of bridge, and then he heads into the sky, disappearing, making people wonder who that was. All Might, who saw this, would be ashamed of himself, as he then thinks that was really annoying and he couldn't do anything, so he really has to get this injury treated. I don't know why I thought I could carry on like this. I need to meet that guy. Everyone who tried to take a video of this would then be fooled into thinking that their machines and devices simply glitched, and the same goes for the reporters. Deku can also cancel out devices because he's a technopath, so Deku was also tasked to help the Hero Society stay stable. And there are some things that he lets slip through the cracks because it makes them less suspicious, because if there are so many secrets from the Hero Society, you wouldn't exactly trust them. So he lets some things go out. But there was no need for someone to think that there was a new hero, so he wanted to lessen the effect of his arrival. So arriving back home, he enters through the gates, turning the barrier back on, and then he goes to work, working on something for UA students to use. This would be a bit of a passion project for him, and he was going to be awesome. Meanwhile, those like Bakugo will be training their butts off, and they're just doing their thing. However, one day as he was working, he would hear an alarm as it was Nezu at the gates, and Deku answered them. What do you want? Hey Midoriya, I brought a friend. His camera then caught All Might with Nezu as he then opened the gate, and they went inside with him closing it again. As All Might is walking around, by the gardens, he would just be a bit overwhelmed. I heard he was quite wealthy, but this is ridiculous. Trust me, there's way more to be surprised by. If anyone can help you, it'll be him. So they go and knock as Inko opens the door, welcoming them in, and as she yells for Deku, soon he would arrive and come to see Inko talking with them, and they're in the living room. Oh, I guess you have important things to talk about, says Inko. She then passes by Deku, who tries to say hi, only for him to then stop, as she then leaves and he clenches his fist, a bit angry. He then sits down and gets to business, trying to distract himself, and he asks, let me see your injury. Oh, how'd you know? Asks All Might. You try to hide it, but just by looking at how you move, it's pretty obvious you were injured by toxic chainsaw. That guy's a weirdo. Also, I assume your smile is one way of covering up your pain, but if anyone were to look closely, there's even a hint of blood coming out of your mouth. All Might would be shocked to hear this, as all these deductions were perfect, and he understood why Nezu brought him to Deku. And he was known as a genius and rich, but he didn't know that Deku was like this smart. Now, all businesses that Deku invested are not under his name, but he did secretly create them. So, can you help me? Deku then curls up, putting both his feet on the couch, and they're close to his chest, and he's thinking attentively, looking at All Might while analyzing his body with what you would call his bionic eye. Is he always like this? Asks All Might. Nezu then whispers, well, no one is perfect. I heard that, but yeah, I can help you. But first, he then gets up and lightly punches All Might as he feels something hurt his arm, and Deku is taking a sample of his skin and cells, telling him that by the time that the UA exams start, he'll have a solution for him. That's it? Yeah, what did you expect? Don't compare me to other doctors. See you at the exams. You can get out now. The front door then opens by Deku's commands as Nezu then jumps out of the chair and says goodbye to Deku, and All Might follows him out of the door as the door closes behind them. He's a good young man. Don't worry. Just be patient. It's not like you have much of a choice, says Nezu. All Might then touches injury, being frustrated, and we then cut to the exam. So when the exams were starting, a bunch of students would gather up at UA. Bakugo would be walking forward with his head down as he remembered that guy who he saw. Who the hell was that guy? Think he was better than me? Now thinking of this with his head down, he would notice Uraraka as he bumps into her and she says sorry. But Bakugo would say, have my head down, don't worry about it. He then walked by Uraraka with her thinking that he looked nice but also stressed. So heading to the gymnasium, this is when President Mike would be explaining the rules and he mentions the 0-pointer. However, there was another robot on the screen he forgot about. Excuse me, sir, Ida would say, standing up. Yeah, what's up, says President Mike. You have forgotten to mention what the purpose of that humanoid robot is. President Mike would then say, I was getting to that. That is a prototype made by Star Industries. It will be piloted by an employee during the exam. It's supposed to help the students in the long run after using it as a test, after using it in a test run in this exam. So just leave it alone. It's actually supposed to help you. Ida and everyone else would actually be super impressed as, Star Industries is secretly owned by Deku, and he makes a lot of technological advancements, and the company that sponsors hospitals basically all over Japan shares its tech, and Ida even went there to get his engines boosted. So after the explanation, then it comes the written test and then the practical part of the exams. When the gates open, everyone runs out right away, fighting robot after robot, with Bakugo being savage, massacring 1-pointer after 1-pointer and 2-pointers. And this is when out of nowhere, a humanoid robot will be walking out and it starts running as it slams a punch into a 2-pointer, leaving a hole in it. Everyone sees this machine and they're being in awe as we then see Deku sitting next to Nezu in front of Death Arms, Midnight, and Vlad King. So how is this supposed to help the students, Vlad King would ask. One of the many abilities on my quirk is to duplicate certain types of tech. I'm going to make more of these and then set a certain difficulty on them so that students can use them to spar or test themselves or whatever after school is over. And you can only use them during tests, in lessons, and all that. So, are you sure they can handle quirks like that, boy? Says Midnight, pointing to Bakugo, who is ripping out a robot, and Deku says it can easily withstand explosions, and it has a lot of features that make it unstoppable. This looks pretty impressive to them, as they then see the robot also be piloted by Deku to save some students having trouble, and Nezu would then say, this isn't what you promised me? Yeah, I know, I'm working on it. I just decided to make this for fun. Don't worry, you'll get a simulator in a few days. The heroes will then be surprised to hear this, that he made an advanced robot for fun, and he keeps acting like he was playing a video game, even though this is a serious test. I thought you were just an employee, asked Midnight. I am, says Deku. He then says nothing else and keeps playing around, so the heroes just give up on asking because they're not going to get anything. So the tests continue, and the robot would leave and return to Deku's side soon, and this is when Nezu would unveil the 0-pointer, sending everyone into a panic as they run away. Good to know you're delivered on your offer. This looks awesome, but I'm not used to your crazed frenzies as much as I used to be. Everyone that sees Nezu losing himself and all the excitement, and he's kind of scaring everyone. And Deku, however, will just keep watching when all of a sudden he sees a girl being held down by Rebel. Nezu, calm down. He then looks like the giant machine with his eyes turning blue as the robot just stops in his tracks, and Deku tells the teachers to go get Recovery Girl for Chaco Uraraka. So Recovery Girl arrives with Vlad King, who helps Uraraka out of the rubble, and Deku would then be by Nezu blaming him for this. Great, now she's not going to have enough points because of you. Look, take the points that I got and give her just enough to barely get into 1A. So you consider this you taking the test? I thought you were just doing your job. Just do it, okay? I don't care. I just like to see justice done. Nezu then says sure sarcastically as he agrees to give her enough points. So soon the test ends, and before Deku leaves, he gives the medicine he made for All Might to Nezu so he can regain his busted up organs. And Nezu then takes it. And then he stays at UA and actually instantly, installs the KO droids. He names them that because they're extremely powerful and can beat almost anything. So he installs them in UA and then makes them voice activated to certain voices and teachers, and all classes could use them. It didn't matter their rank. And after this, he goes home pretty tired, and after entering, he sees his mom going to the back of the mansion, which is a pretty long way around considering how big the place is. Deku then finds her at Hisashi's grave, which they put in the house even though they don't have his body. It's just a makeshift grave, in honor of him. And Deku would then walk up saying, I miss him too, Inko then turns around asking, have fun? Yeah. Then why don't you go? Izuku, you don't have to keep doing this. You don't have to keep putting yourself into work. Even government officials are telling you you do too much work, and they're government officials. Deku would then say, yes, Shinjo said that it didn't matter if I attended any school of my choosing, but I'm happy with what I already have. Inko would then say, well, I'm not. You're always working and you don't have any friends of your own. I feel like I failed as a mother. Just for me. Go to school again. Have fun. Make friends. Please. If that's what you really want, then sure. Really? You're gonna take my advice for once? I listen to you sometimes. Can we just go home? Let's watch a movie like we used to. I know I've been closed off a bit. Sure, how about a horror one? Deku would then say, but you hate those. Kinda laughing a bit. So the two head inside and go to their theater room, which has a giant screen and everything, and they watch a horror movie. Now the next days would consist of Deku going to other schools in Japan and installing the KO droids, and then he decides to go to UA. Now arriving on the grounds, he walks in and of course is the last student to arrive, and he walks through the halls and finds the door to 1A. I still don't get the point of the giant door. He then slides the door open as he does, everyone stares at him. You're late, Izuku Midoriya, was it? Sorry about that, where do I sit? Aizawa then tells him to sit in front of Bakugo, and as he does, everyone wonders who he is and why he just arrives like he owns the place, and he's not wearing a UA uniform. This is Izuku Midoriya, the resident genius of Japan. I'm sure you all know of him. Oh yeah, it is him. Nice to meet you, man, says Kaminari. Everyone that says hi to Deku, being friendly, which is something that he's not used to. And this makes Todoroki and Bakugo already have their eyes set on him because Deku is known to have a high IQ. Well, today isn't about Midoriya. Today we're going to the USJ. Get dressed and come outside. So the group does go into the locker rooms, but Deku simply keeps what he's wearing, which is a white lab coat over a black shirt, and he's also wearing shorts and his typical red shoes with white soles. Who are you? Aizawa would ask. The two would then be outside and the buses pull up, and Deku says that he's what you would call a government official, and this shocks Aizawa because Deku just turned 15. So I'm guessing you're not here for school? I am, but I'm also watching the next generation of sorts. Well, I'm assuming those androids were yours, right? They were very effective to show how long everyone else still has to go. The two then talk a bit more as if they were colleagues, not as if they're teacher and student, because Deku was very mature. And soon the students would come with their hero costumes and get on the bus and they head out. Now, as they're on the bus, everyone starts talking about their quirks and how hard the last exercise was, since none of them passed. Hey Izuku, what's your quirk? Asked Kirishima. Aizawa hearing this question would turn around as everyone looked at Deku waiting for an answer. So Deku makes a fist as his hand produces a pulse cannon. My quirk is called Technopath. I can control technology however I want. For example, everyone that sees Deku's eyes shine blue as the bus starts playing music, freaking out the driver, but Deku then turns it off, apologizing. Now as the bus driver says it's okay, Izuku would say that if he wanted to, he could even drive the bus without touching it from here with his thoughts. That's kind of OP, says Kaminari. Do you have technology in your body too? Deku then says yes, and he implanted them in his body so he could do a lot of crazy stuff, and since he's rich, he has the latest technology from Star Industries. The students almost forgot about that since the Midoriya family is rich, and this is due to the fact that they never show their face much. They were just two people in a family. Mineta would then say, oh yeah, you're loaded, right? What's that like? Deku would then say, why don't you find out? If you guys want, you can come over and stay at my place after this. They would then be excited to hear this, and they say it's a good idea to make everyone bond, to come together as a class. But then Bakugo notices how happy Deku is, and he would ask why he's being so hyper. It's just a hangout. And Deku would say, my mom says I need more friends. I don't go out much. This would make everyone chuckle a bit playfully as they know what he's trying to do. He's just trying to be sociable. Clearly, he's a lonely guy, and he just wants to have some friends. But either way, they agreed they were gonna meet at his place tonight. Even Bakugo wanted to go because he always wanted to see what it was like for a rich family like that. Aizawa then smiles, looking forward as he said, I thought you were just here to watch over them. You're getting quite comfortable, aren't you? So soon they make it to the USJ and get off the bus as they enter the giant dome, and when they do, they meet 13, who instantly recognizes Deku, but he signals her to be a bit more secretive. So 13 would tell the kids about the USJ and also about they have some defenses from Star Industries, voice activated by heroes, certain voices and all of that. 13 would then say, if I activate the anti-quirk grid, it will know who to apprehend. Like, for example, if villains showed up here. You mean like that, says Deku? He would then point down the stairs as a huge ominous portal opens up in the middle of the USJ, and the power would turn off, scaring everyone. Seems like they hacked the systems. Oh hell no, thinks Deku, being pissed because he designed these systems, and his eyes would shine blue, turning the power back on, just as the villains, come through. 13 would then think, thanks Midoriya, and then she yells, activate anti-quirk grid. A wall then falls from the top of the dome, separating the students from the villains, and this is when Kurogiri, Shigaraki, and a strange looking bird creature would walk through, and the rest of the mob villains are there too. Shigaraki would then say, I thought this place was. He would then be caught off, as he and every single villain would then be shocked by the grid, and all the villains lose consciousness, including Shigaraki, but Kurogiri catches him, and Kurogiri is not knocked out, and the Nobu is still standing. This shouldn't be possible, but I guess Star Industries can't be trifled with. Kirishima would then say, whoa, those villains never stood a chance. Momo would then say, but how are those two still standing? This is when the Nomu rushes forward and punches the grid, only to then have its arm blown off, but it regenerates and keeps trying to break the grid. At this point, Aizawa is getting ready to fight, as Deku then enables the communication devices to call All Might. He's on the way, but we're gonna have to just hold out. Don't worry kids, this place is rigged with traps to capture and take care of villains, says 13. This is when the Nomu would break through the grid, going at the kids, and despite having its quirk dampened, it's still too strong, and Aizawa tries to go down and fight him, and Kurogiri of course cannot use his quirk right now, and is hoping that the Nomu can take care of things for a while. Now the Nomu and Aizawa would be duking it out though, just going back and forth, and even though its quirks were cancelled, it's still pretty freaking strong, and everyone saw that Aizawa was clearly getting hurt, and soon he would be held down, and All Might was still nowhere in sight. This is when Deku activates his Cybernetics, and he points at the Nomu just as he was about to snap Aizawa's arm, and it is caught by the grid, as the grid that was broken, and now it was just a formless piece of quirk cancelling tech, and it latched onto the Nomu and held it in place as Deku started walking down the stairs, clenching his fist, and this made the tech actually dig into the Nomu's body. I was just gonna chill and hang back, but I figured the villains would show up. He would then clench his other hand, grabbing Shigaraki and Kurogiri with this tech surrounding the USJ, and Deku would then say, I just didn't know you would try to kill my sensei. He then walks up to the Nomu and punches it with the pulse cannon, making it disintegrate in front of everyone, and this would be pretty impressive, as Deku then made his finger into a syringe and then he stabs it into Aizawa's shoulder, making his messed up arm realign and get fixed. What? He can do that? Who the hell is this bastard really? Asked Bakugo. Deku would then walk up to Kurogiri and disintegrate him as well, saying, now, what are we gonna do with you? This is when a loud boom is heard and someone enters the USJ and then lands behind Deku, as it turns out to be All Might, and as he sees all the knocked out villains around, he would ask, what exactly happened here? Midoriya? You're late. Take him. He then turns the tech holding Shigaraki into a capsule that cancels his quirk, while also enveloping his entire body, and he tosses this to All Might, who catches it just as Deku passes by him. And just like that, the incident will be over, but no one really knows what exactly happened. The credit all goes to 13, All Might and Aizawa, and Star Industries, as Shigaraki is put in prison, but then moved into Deku's custody by the government. And since this happens, everyone gets a day off, but they still go to Deku's home, and, it's allowed, because, Deku, he's rich, he definitely has some defenses. Now we then cut to Deku walking to his sub-lab, and he yawns as he then looks to see that it's 2 o'clock, and his classmates should be arriving soon. He then stretches and, walks to a wall and touches it as it then opens up, showing a cell which was holding Shigaraki, and it had a lot of space for him. It had a bento waiting for him when he woke up. He even had a bed, a bathroom, a closet, and a TV. This all-for-one guy is kind of pissing me off, Deku would think. Now as he says this, Deku would then have a flashback to when his tech connected to Shigaraki, and he receives all sorts of records of him, but he dug deeper and realized that this guy he's been tracking, which is all for one, is involved in Shigaraki's messed up life and has been the reason why his life is so messed up. I really want to help you, but I don't know if you want me to. Do you even want to be saved? A ring would then be heard as Deku figures out that, the students have arrived, so he just closes up Shigaraki's room and takes the elevator up, just as we see Shigaraki open his eyes. Will Deku be able to help Shigaraki? Now that All Might is seemingly back to his prime, how will things go? And will Deku be able to go to UA like a normal kid? Find out in the upcoming parts. It's been me, Prince of What Ifs. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Goodbye.